Okay, hi everyone. So I've had a request to do a small chat about life after death. And so I've made a few notes and I'll chat to you all about that. So the one thing I want to say here is that after a lot of years in this realm, I can tell you with absolute certainty that life doesn't end at death. Life absolutely continues after death. The only thing that happens is the body, your vessel, I guess the bus that you're in ceases to be connected to your spirit. That's putting it in the simplest form. So if you've ever astral projected, you'll see that there is a silver cord that connects your astral body to your physical body. And at death, that cord is severed, it's released. You're no longer connected to that physical body. And that's what begins the breakdown of death and rigor mortis and all the rest of it. So, now, when you've passed over, there's a lot of things that happen, and some people don't even realise that they've passed over. And have no concept that they're dead, and sometimes will wander around wondering why no one will talk to them. But that's a whole other thing. Sometimes people are taken well before we believe their time was due, and it's through some tragedy or illness or some other such thing. And we're left with more questions than we have answers. So I'm hoping that what I can do here is help you to find those answers for yourself. So I've spoken with a lot of people who do mediumship work, and it seems to be that the general consensus is death is a bit like jumping into a cold lake on a hot day. It's a bit of a shock at first, but you get used to it pretty quickly. And then you go on and do what you need to do. Now, I was an adult before I saw my first spirit. And that was a whole really interesting experience all by itself. I was probably in my mid-20s and full of gung-ho and full of lots of things, and said to the universe, I'm ready to see spirit. And yeah, that night, this spirit came up through the bed. I was lying in bed, or sort of sitting up, came up through the bed, and there was just a head and shoulders looking straight at me. Reminded me at the time of Tom Baker in his role with Doctor Who. Similar kind of appearance. Well, I can tell you that I had a panic attack and lifted the blankets up, and then looked down again and it was still there. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And when I lifted the blankets down again, it was gone. So I slept with the light on for 3 nights, and, you know, realized then that my ego had got in front of my ability, and it was a scary thing at that time. I can tell you that since then, I've had many encounters, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But at that moment, it was a very good lesson for me about readiness. Now, one of the things that I have since learned is that when you physically see spirit, it's rare for them to communicate to you. The communication doesn't normally come with an actual physical awareness, so seeing them with your eyes. Most of the time, when you're getting messages from spirit, there's actually no manifestation of that person to you. Now, a lot of people start seeing spirits as children, and that obviously has some issues, because kids can range from, oh, that's your so-and-so, to being panic-stricken about it. And parents very often don't know how to deal with it, and put it down to an imaginary friend or some other such thing. So what happens to you largely depends upon how it's handled when, as a child, you share that. And there's lots of people that put off a spiritual growth because of how it was handled, but I don't want to get into that now. So I had my first proof of life after death, and that gave me a confidence to move forward in my own growth and ability, even though it frightened me at the time. It was a great learning curve that allowed me to connect with spirit and communicate with them. Now, since that time, I've been blessed with being able to give readings to people, and give them messages from people who've passed over that has only been known to that person and the person who's deceased. And also to give them information about, you know, personality traits and mannerisms and all sorts of things that that person has had. And very often I'm able to get names as well. So it's been a wonderful experience for me to share those things with those people. And I've been humbled and blessed to be able to share that information with them and help them to achieve some kind of closure. But of course, all these things are stories to any one of you watching this. And if you've never experienced those things, then you're going to look upon this and go, wow, that's a great story, but how do I know it's real? And you don't. Absolutely, you don't. You either take it at face value or you start exploring. And that's what I would encourage you to do, and do it in a safe realm. So what is life after death? Well, it's not really that different to life on earth. You've got things to do. You've got things to learn. You have choices about coming back if you want to. You can stay in that spirit realm. It's really no different to the life that you've had so far. The only difference is that you have access to higher knowledge and access to higher learning and access to higher beings that you wouldn't normally have access to on this plane. Now, there was a gentleman, actually, before I get to that, Robin Williams was in a movie called What Dreams May Come. And I would say to you that that is a really good interpretation, although it's Hollywood based, it's a really good interpretation. That's George's tale, by the way. Really good interpretation of what the spirit life is like. It's obviously tinged with, you know, license to tell a story, but there is some stuff in there. There's also a manuscript that was published by a gentleman called Emanuel Swedenborg, and that was in about 1788. And the book was titled sorry, I'm just reading off my notes. Afterlife, a guided tour of heaven and its wonders. Now, the original manuscript was written in Latin, and there was a gentleman called Donald L. Rose who translated it into English, and it's downloadable, and I'll put the link down below. What you need to know is that this is through the perspective of someone who lived in the mid-17th century. And so a lot of his observations are filtered through someone of that time. But what I would say to you is that there's a lot of very good information in there, and there's a lot of really good stuff that you can learn that will certainly put you on a really good path of understanding life after death. Now, the other thing that I would recommend that you do is there is so much information on life after death, and there's a lot of great resources about that, and I'll link some of them below, and they're amazing, some of these different ones that you can see. And I would encourage you to look at them. They're on different YouTube channels, but I'll absolutely link those in there. One thing it is to be human and to lose someone suddenly, and for you to go, but I didn't have enough time with them, is it's hard to let go. Now, what I'm about to say to you is probably going to be a little bit confronting, and I don't mean it to be confronting. But once they've passed over, they've got other things to do, and holding on to them can slow down that journey that they need to do. You will reconnect with them when you pass over, because that's what we all do. It's my understanding that we travel through our lifetimes with about the same 20 to 25 souls, and we take different roles in each other's lives in different incarnations. So if you were in a wonderful relationship in this life, I promise you, you'll reconnect with them in the afterlife. And if you get married more than once, you'll reconnect with all of them. And some of you might say, oh, there's some I don't want to reconnect with. Well, you probably won't. It's not a have to or you're going to. It's generally if there's a good relationship that you will reconnect with them. The final thought that I want to say to you, and I'd like you to take this on board. Imagine that you're in a theatre and you're in a play, and in that play, you are an actor. And so as an actor, you take on that role very seriously and you do everything. And of course, you know, the blood is tomato sauce and all the rest of it. And at the end of the play, you go, oh my goodness, that was such a wonderful experience. I learned so much about that. Then, of course, you're also the audience. You're a member of the audience watching yourself on the play. And you're getting caught up in the story and you're enjoying the play in front of you. And you have an amazing account of what's going on at the end of that. And so, you know, as the audience member, you absolutely enjoyed the story and you took it on as being real. Now, of course, at the end of the play, all the actors get together and they talk about how wonderful it was to do that play, and the audience members share their experience with the actors. Well, that's kind of what it is in the afterlife and in living. And it's simply that you are the actor and you are the audience member. And the actor in their head, they know what's going on. It's absolutely fictional. And they know it's tomato sauce. But the person in the audience, they're taking it on as gospel. So in a very, very rough translation, your higher self is the actor and the audience member is you in this life. So I hope that helped. I'm going to stop now because it's already getting quite a long video. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified of new videos. Please visit my website, and if you could, please consider becoming a patron on my Patreon page, because it allows me to produce more videos like this and share them with everyone. Have an amazing day. Take care.